So, Clara, when and where were you born?
I was born on Halloween 2000 in Montevideo.
In Uruguay.
Yeah,
So, if you're Halloween, then you're a Scorpio.
yeah.
And do you identify with being deep feelings and kind of a passionate, deep person?
Yeah, maybe it could be. I'm just overall intense, so
What are three words to describe you for people who don't know you?
I would say curious, talkative, and very inquisitive. I make a lot of questions. Not this time.
And how did your English get so good?
I went on exchange when I was 15. My mother is an English teacher, so I've always kind of spoke it. And I'm a counselor for exchange students, so like I'm used to speaking English like on a daily, almost daily basis.
Hmm. Where did you do the exchange? What country?
I went to Japan.
Oh, you speak Japanese a little bit too?
I forget it. I used to speak it when I was 15, but since I don't speak Japanese here, I forget all about it.
I know. You
I
just
can say my name though.
uh, you can just say sumimasen a lot. I'm sorry.
A lot.
A
A
lot.
lot of sumimasen.
Sumimasen, sumimasen. Hi, hi. Uh, okay, we got it. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a little sister. She's 7 years younger than me.
And is she interested in climate movement as like you?
Yeah, but like not as much as I am. She just tries to be conscious and explain it to her friends and limit her media intake, but she's not really ready to be the weird kid yet.
Why are climate activists considered weird kids? Because to me, they're the vanguard, future conscientious leaders. That's not weird. That's
Because because of the food we eat, the clothes we buy, the even the transport we use. Like most activists try to use their bikes or walk or like take the bus way more than your average teenager. So it's in the small daily decisions that climate activists take that kind of set you apart a little bit.
does that mean you're a vegetarian?
Yeah,
And have
I've
you?
been for the past 5 years.
Hmm. And what do you rely on for protein? Rice and beans.
Yeah, mostly lots of beans, just chickpeas and black beans. And, yeah.
And clothes, you buy secondhand used clothes?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, unless it's something very specific, like you need some jeans and it's hard to find them when they are secondhand, or like underwear. I try to buy most of my stuff secondhand, or if I have like a party, I rent a dress.
Ah, and can you rent it online?
No, like you have to go to the store, try it on, and rent it.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's cool. We we don't have that except for in my town except for costumes, but they not party dresses. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's pretty common here because party dresses are like super expensive, but we have this quinceañera thing, so you usually have to wear super fancy dresses that you won't wear again, so you just rent them.
Oh, brilliant. And did you have a quinceanera?
Not really. I had a little costume party with my friends because here you either have the quinceañera party or like travel, so I went to Europe with my family instead.
Hmm. And the idea is throughout Latinx culture that at 15 it's kind of presenting you that you're an adult almost, that you like take a look at this girl, she's not a girl anymore.
Yeah, it kind of puts everything into perspective. Like when you are an exchange, you are completely alone. I mean, you have your host parents and your counselor and everything, but you are on your own and no one really understands you. And you come to realize that the rest of the world is not as far as you think. So it may seem that they are like, oh, they are foreigners, they are super different, or I don't know, they are Japanese and I'm Uruguayan and we don't share anything, but it like makes you realize that the rest of humanity is more similar to you than you may think. So it also gives you this perspective of humans are all the same.
Well, I don't understand because quinceanera, how does that make you have connection with other people except for?
Uh, I thought you asked about like being 15 and being abroad. I confused the 15 thing.
Okay, sorry. So,
Oh no, the quinceañera thing is like, I don't know, cultural. It's very stupid to me.
mm, but it seems to me that it's useful for teenagers to have, like, Jewish boys have bar mitzvah and girls
Yeah,
had bas mitzvah, and indigenous people have coming of age rituals like ritual circumcision or a vision
yeah.
quest, or it seems like the rituals can be very useful.
Yeah, it's just like giving you the sense that you have become an adult, even if you haven't. So it's like all this ritualistic thing saying that you are an adult now, even if you like aren't, because it's mostly historical. It comes from when they had to reproduce at 15 because at 30 they would be dead. So yeah, it's
Mm.
like I don't know. I feel that it's just like reminiscence of times past since that our lives are like super long now and we don't need to think that at 15 you're an adult because you can be an adult at 20 when you're over with your education, for example.
Right.
Like we are not expected to take adult roles when we are so young. I mean, it's just a part to say you're an adult now, but your parents will still be your parents. You will still depend on them. You can't go on your own and do your thing because you need to study, you need to own a house, you need to pay for bills. So you are not really prepared for adulting yet.
Is there? I've never heard of anything comparable for boys when they turn 15, 16.
Yeah, it's mostly because of this reproductive thing of saying, okay, this girl is fertile and young and ready to breed some children. Have her. Like, that's where the quinceañera thing comes from.
Yeah.
So boys didn't really need that, I think.
That's interesting. Where are you in school now? What
I'm actually in second grade in university.
and what are you studying?
I study in UDELAR, Universidad de la República. It's like state university, public here in Uruguay, and since our education is public, it's like the most normal thing to do. I mean, we have private universities and private schools, but they are not really necessary if you can get your education for free. So, yeah.
So you don't pay tuition or pay for textbooks or anything?
I mean, we pay for our own textbooks, but even that has a discount because the own university sometimes edits those books, so you have them like for a cheaper price.
Wow. Because in the U.S., students
Tuition is
graduate
super expensive.
25,000 average in debt when they
Yeah.
graduate.
So we are debt free, but we have to pay a special kind of tax. If you have a college degree, you pay a tax called Solidarity Fund, and you will pay for that until you're retired. It's just a very small tax deducted from your salary, so you can help fund the university. You don't have a debt. You don't have to pay for it. It's something that is automatically deducted from your salary.
Mm-hmm. And what is your major field of study in university?
Oh, it's super messy because there are like thousands of students. We are 400 students in my class, and the teachers like only do 2 tests a semester. So they are basing their opinion on yourself based solely on 2 tests. They don't know anything about you. They don't know about your skills, about the way you can express yourself, about your knowledge. They are just testing for things that you were supposed to memorize, or at least in my degree where I study law. So they are not really evaluating students based on their abilities. It's mostly based on what they can spit on a 20, 30, 40 minutes test.
Whoa. In the public universities here, like I went to the University of California, and the way they get around the huge size classes is they have graduate students teach little units in conjunction with the large lecture course. So do you have those kind of small discussion groups as well?
No, we don't. We just have class with the teacher. The teacher has helpers, which are these graduate students that are not teachers yet, but they are like helping the teacher organize the lessons and mark our tasks and stuff because one person cannot grade 400 tests, for example. So they are there, but they don't organize smaller study groups. Also because the building doesn't even have space for those smaller study groups.
Wow.
It's like we don't have only one shift. We have the morning shift, the afternoon shift, and the night shift at university. So it's like almost always full of people. And since we don't have entry tests, or we don't have a fee to pay, or we don't have any grade requirement to get to university, literally, my mom could go if she wanted to. Like anyone can go. So since it's this free for all thing, people who don't really commit to studying attend, and that leads to these huge classes.
So you don't even need to graduate from secondary school?
You need to graduate from secondary school, but it doesn't matter if you have like an A or a C, it's like the same.
And what about traditionally around the world there's entrance exams, and if you don't do well on those A levels or college entrance exams or whatever they're called, you don't have those?
We don't have those. Some very specific careers or universities have those, but like very few of them. And also some even have like, I don't know if it's like a lottery thing. If you want to like have a spot and they only have 60 spots, they have this lottery thing with hundreds of students. So yeah.
And
it's all about equality.
Is your intention to be a lawyer?
No, it's international law mostly. It's foreign affairs and that stuff. So it's not to be a lawyer. It's mostly to be like work for the government in foreign affairs, or like be a diplomat or an ambassador or something like that.
I think we would call that political science or international studies, something like that.
Yeah.
Not because to me, law means that you're going to be a lawyer, and you only go into
Yeah.
law after you're finished your undergraduate.
It's taught in the law faculty because since we have only one big public university, they are divided in faculties, and I study in the law faculty with the lawyers. So yeah.
Got it. And then, how did you get interested in being an activist? What triggered your awareness? This is a major issue. I've got to do something.
Because I felt as if individual actions were not enough. So I thought, well, if I have time to do this and I only have to like study for university, I could devote some of my day to this, because climate activism seems like a real deal right now, and I think that my input on this could be helpful. And I thought also that sharing this kind of climate anxiety with like-minded individuals would like help take all this panic off me. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. Teenagers that like the same stuff as me and they are worried like me and I could talk to them. This is so cool. I will definitely do it.
How old were you when you started to realize this is a current major crisis? It's not some future issue. It's, I got to get involved now.
I think it was around like 12 years old, maybe. My mom gave me a book called Bocal de Ciencia, Mouthfuls of Science, and it had lots of explanations of, like, very scientific explanations of normal phenomena, and they were explained to children. So they explained about cows' farts and climate change and GMOs and all that stuff, and I was like, whoa, this is so interesting. Why is my teacher at school not teaching me this? Why is this not important to like literally everyone? Because these books were not like your average children book. Like my mother started buying me books because I was all the time asking her questions, and she was like, okay, no, I can't answer to you all the time. Please read on your own because you will make me crazy. And that's when I came to the realization that there were a lot of important issues that were not being taught to me.
And you were around 12.
Yeah.
And then how did you find like-minded compatriots, comrades to work in the movement with you? Where did you find them?
It was mostly through social media, and I saw the Fridays for Future like posts on Instagram, and I was like, whoa, it seems like really cool. I will try to like go to their strikes and everything. And on their strikes, I met the organizers, and they were like struggling. They needed more people. It was like a lot of stuff to do. And I said, well, if you need someone to help, I could help you. And they were like, okay, great, thank you. That's so nice from you. And I started helping out in Fridays for Future Uruguay since like May last year.
And
May, no, maybe April. Yeah.
and the main focus has been on organizing school strikes, Friday strikes.
Yeah, mostly.
And when you were in secondary, you weren't striking when you were in secondary school, right?
Because it wasn't a thing when I was in secondary school.
Right.
It wasn't very, I don't know, well known here.
Right. So, do you not go to university on Fridays, or how do you physically act out the strike?
We had our strikes in the afternoon, and I go to university in the morning, so I could still attend university and go on strike.
And
the strikes were around 6 or 5 p.m., so it was really useful for me because I didn't have to miss anything. Right. I totally get the spirit of missing school because of our future, but that's not something that every adult can understand, so we couldn't have our strikes during school hours because lots of students would miss them.
Right. And so strike to me means that you have signs, you talk to people, maybe hand out scientific information. What form does the strike take? Like on Friday when you're striking, oh, you probably won't because of the virus, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't an every Friday thing. We tried to do it every Friday, but we ended up being like 5 people, so we tried to organize only big strikes, like only on the international dates. And it was mostly like having an opening speech, explaining stuff like, yeah, this is a climate crisis, this is what is going on, this is what we can do, this is what we should know. And then marching, we chanted, we had our like banners and posters, and sometimes before the strikes we painted some more and helped people make their own. And then afterwards we had another speech closing it, saying, okay, now that you're going to go home, this is what you can do on your own, and we are not going to keep tolerating this because this is not our responsibility. We are just teenagers. We shouldn't be the ones saying, hey, please guys, we want to leave, we want to have breathable air and drinkable water. It's not our fault, so we are not the ones that should be taking responsibility.
Right. I would call that a march. Like if we have a women's march to protest what Trump is doing, that's exactly what we do.
We kind of call them march. We call them marcha, so yeah. It's not a strike because we don't miss anything, actually.
And what do you find are effective slogans or visual images to have on a poster? What gets the point across powerfully?
People like things with drawings, like colors and crying earths and that stuff. It's like inside we are all children, so they like to see drawings and colors and very direct messages. If you hit them with a facts and I don't know numbers and that stuff, they are not gonna read it. You try to be smart, you try to be witty, you try to make it colorful and eye-catching, because if you are having a big banner with lots of facts and data and all this stuff, they are definitely not going to pay attention.
Do you, by chance, have a poster around your room to show us?
No, I don't have mine because we used to keep them all in a striker house because she would bring them all together to the strike, so we didn't have to carry them through the public transport because I don't live close to the place where we do the marches. I live in a small town outside the capital, and we used to do them in the capital.
Right. I like "There's no planet B." What kind of slogans or images do you like that you think really get the message across?
There's no planet B. I think it's kind of an overused kind of message. So, like, I don't know, the funny things, like, I don't know, the earth is getting hotter than my crush or something like that. When you try to have like a little spark on it and try to make it more rememberable, that's what works better. Like
Mm.
puns and rhymes and that stuff.
Interesting. Um, do you do most of your organizing for the strikes online, or do you meet face to face as well? Or do you organize during a strike?
We used to meet face to face, like we used to have weekly meetings, and we used to meet afterwards to like evaluate how did it go, how did we feel about it, what could we do next time. But during this quarantine thing, I think we are going to do most of it through Discord or Skype or something. We tried it before, but it didn't really work. And we had a WhatsApp group, and it got like overused. People started sending random messages on it, so it was not really that efficient. It was way more efficient to meet personally than try to do it online. So, yeah.
What percent of the people that you work with are female?
Well, I would say we were 15 and there were only like 3 guys. So,
And that's true around the world.
like a fifth.
Why do you think that is? Why is it?
Yeah, because being eco-conscious is mostly branded as a feminine thing. There are even studies that say that men recycle less than women. Like, I also think that it's because women are usually taking the role of caretakers. So we are literally taking care of something this time. It's not something unexpected for women, and women tend to it's not something that comes from me, it's based on studies. Women tend to have more compassion and empathy, so I think it would be easier for females to grasp the concept of global issue than for men. And also because when we are young, women tend to develop this ambition early on of like doing something important with my life, while men are expected to do it later in life. So it's like all of this pressure constantly being put on women of you are the caretaker, you are the one that has to do something because then you will be old and wrinkled and you will have no time and you have to breed children. So like I think all these females are trying to do everything early on, and it's also to fight that stereotype of girls are weak, girls can't do things, girls are not ready for leadership roles. So it's about define the norm and also subconsciously trying to get everything done so you are not the old cranky woman that's shouting on a microphone. It's better if you do it when you are young because you will be judged a little less.
So, do you think of yourself as a feminist?
Definitely. More than just a feminist, I consider myself a radical feminist because I don't identify with the whole gender thing. I think that what you have between your legs shouldn't define anything about yourself. Like your hair, your makeup, your clothes, your personality. Literally, what you have between your legs is your business and your doctor's business and your romantic partner's business, but the world shouldn't dictate what you should do based on that. If you want to wear a skirt, wear it. Like, it's changing nothing.
So, what pronouns do you like?
It's not about what I like. I identify as female because I was born as female. Female is someone that has eggs and ovaries and all that stuff. So it's not something I think that we shouldn't like. We should stop saying that we identify as something. You shouldn't have to put a name on what you feel. It's what you are. That is it. You don't have to call yourself female or male or binary or whatever because the world puts an expectation on yourself because of that. It's just you are just a person, and if you like something that is not traditionally identified with your gender, you shouldn't feel as if you have to change your identity or expression just to match what the world expects.
It's interesting to me because the radical feminists of the second wave of feminism in the 60s and 70s had the same belief. So it's interesting that it's kind of coming full circle and using the same word of radical feminism.
I think that we are like the whole gender identity thing, it's just a step before realizing that gender means nothing because it's a social construct.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
do
like we
you?
are slowly coming to the realization that we are the ones who make gender. So instead of saying if we are the ones who make gender, we can forget about gender, people is saying, oh, if we are the ones who make gender, we are going to make more gender.
So do you read any of the old radical feminists like Shulamith Firestone, Dialectics of Sex, or is that history not really a part of this kind of understanding?
It's a little bit of both. I always thought that, I mean, it didn't make much sense to say this is for boys and this is for girls. And then I stumbled upon all this feminist theory. It's not as if I read Simone and thought, okay, she's right. It's not as if I read Andrea Dworkin and said, this woman, she knows her shit. It's not like that. It's just reading snippets of different authors and saying, okay, if it all comes together as this, it's like totally understandable.
What were some of the influential books about gender that you read?
It's not just a book. It's like posts online and some studies and some articles, and then it all comes together to your own understanding of it.
Hmm. Another issue that was the same for second wave feminists, say in the 70s, was how do you get things done as an activist group without a rigid hierarchy and bosses and media stars is what they were worried about. How do you get things done and still have kind of a flat organizational structure?
We don't really manage to get things done if we try to have a flat organizational structure. We used to like follow more or less a democratic regime, but it like had to be approved by the public faces of the organization because you are the one that is exposing yourself. So if you don't agree with something the group is saying, but they identify you as a part of Fridays for Future, then that's not good for you. So we try to have a vote and then ask the people who is like giving a face to Fridays for Future Uruguay if they agree with this. So if we all do something, it has to be something we all agree on, and that's like super hard and super slow, and it's almost impossible to come to a conclusion that serves well to everyone.
So how do you decide? Okay, there's an international strike coming up. We're going to meet here. We're going to do this. We're going to do this kind of media outreach. Do you have like task groups that work on different tasks to get things
Yeah, we
done?
used to have task groups, but that didn't work well because it always ended up being like two or three doing the work for everyone else. We had task groups, but specializing activities and the stuff didn't really work. So we tried to uh, follow international procedures as much as possible. So if there, like, I don't know, 90% of the world was doing the strike on that day, then we would do it on that day and try to leave as much as possible to the international guidance.
And that comes from Fridays for Future posts on Instagram, or where does that
It was
organizing?
mostly on the international groups on like Discord and Telegram. Most of the Fridays for Future things are decided on Europe, so it was mostly following through what they did.
Okay. Um, so is there discussion about this isn't working? We need to try some kind of more orderly organizations, or what's the discussion about it now?
Lots of us, for example, me, are wanting Fridays for Future organizers because it's very hard to do something with this kind of environment of not being able to decide on anything. You feel as if you're not moving forward. You feel as if this is never going to be over. It's like it came to the like it came to a dead point. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like it's not moving
A
forward
dead end, we say.
because we are always having the same disagreements.
And what would the issues be that people who were disagreeing thought this isn't egalitarian enough, or what were the issues?
Yeah, it was mostly some of us saying, hey, this is not egalitarian enough. There's always like the same people taking decisions for the rest of us. And then this like one girl that is taking over all the time saying, because you are doing nothing, so you don't deserve to have a say in anything. And it's not about uh, what you do or not do, because maybe you don't have enough time because you are studying for university, for example. So that are in school have more free time, are doing things on their own without telling us. So it's kind of miscommunication thing. Lots of stuff is being done without the rest noticing or knowing.
Hmm. So
It's
how
like
many people would you say are the ones who are the leaders who aren't called leaders, but they are the leaders? Like, how many people make sure something happens?
I would say the founder, Martin, he was the first one, so everything goes through him, unless this other one girl that does things on her own does something. But mostly, I would say the founder is the one in charge.
And how do you fit into that approach?
He used to ask me a lot of stuff because he's only 16, so he trusted me a lot of on all of this, and it was mostly like I would have lots of things to say about everything, so I was always putting my input on it. And it wasn't as if I decided stuff. I voted, my vote was worth as much as everyone else's, but I talked way more of about everything than the rest.
And did they resent you for it, or were they like, oh, good, she knows what she's talking about?
It was mostly that that's great that someone like wants to discuss it, but as I said, there's this one girl who can't stand me, so that didn't really work with her. And she was the one trying to. I think this is something that's going on with the climate movement in general. I think that she was using it for her personal agenda. Lots of people are like getting famous because of climate activism. And what I think is that it doesn't really matter who you are. You are not important. You are just the face of a movement. So try to stop uh, patting yourself on the back for what you're doing. You are supposed to do it because you want to, not because you're expecting anything from it. So she was this kind of attention seeking person, and she felt that I was taking attention away from her. So it was all the time saying she was all the time saying things against me, and that ended up making me feel uncomfortable and the entire group feel uncomfortable because they don't like to have two girls fighting within the group all the time, and I was getting stressed about it, so I distanced myself a little bit. But things, if we all distance ourselves from Fridays for Future, then we are not going to get anything done. What is happening now?
Hmm. Last weekend, throughout South America, there were women marching against femicides, against the major violence against women, murders of women without any punishment or tracking down the murderers. Were you part of that? And do you think anything will come out of that? I was a strike and a
I,
march.
I I definitely wanted to be part of it, but since our new government was going to do their first trial of the new police operations, I was kind of scared because our new government is right wing and conservative, which is something we haven't seen for the last 15 years. So I was feeling pretty scared and uncomfortable about being around police officers, given that now they are being way more insistent and they are abusing their power more than ever. So I felt kind of scared about going. But I 100% supported everything that was being said on it. Like, it's not fair that women are killed by their partners, by their spouses, by their parents. It's like, it's insane. It doesn't make any sense. And it's even worse here in South America because of the whole macho culture thing. Not so much here because we are a little more well, I don't want it to sound despective, but we are a little more educated about that stuff, given that Uruguay doesn't have such a strong vision and gender roles, but still.
It's interesting to me that along with machismo goes Marianismo, that the Catholic Church says be like Mary, which is virgin, devoted to your family, self-sacrificing, pure. Do you think that ethic is still the other part of machismo is Marianismo?
Yeah, but that's not a big thing here because in Uruguay the state and the church have been separated since the beginning of the 20th century. So we are not that closely related to the beliefs of the Catholic Church anymore. So yeah, we still have gender roles, but not as strong as Catholic countries.
Like
Because
Mexico,
uh,
Mexico.
yeah, we have equal pay, we have abortion, we have gay rights, we have all that stuff that it's being talked to now in other countries. So I feel personally that for a woman it's better to be here than in other South American countries right now.
And why did people elect a new right-wing government in Uruguay?
Because we had 15 years of the same left-wing government, and personally I believe it is because they thought that it would bring us more safety because of the whole war on drugs thing and all this stuff. But the whole war on drugs thing, it's not something that is happening just here. It's not something about Uruguay that makes violence rise up and crime rise up. It's something that is going on globally. So it's not the government's fault. It's just a global trend, and they shouldn't blame a party for it because it's not their responsibility. It's just a tendency that has been seen in the entire world.
Hmm. It's interesting that globally there's a rise of like Bolsonaro in Brazil and Erdogan stays in power in Turkey and Putin in Russia, of these strong men who say, I'm the strong man and I will make you safe and prosperous. Give the power to me and I'll take care of you. So it's happening around the world. Trump is part of that too.
Yeah, it's that I think that it's because people are becoming tired of the whole freedom for everyone um, government. They are seeking for new or maybe renewed solutions for the same issues that we have been seeing for the past years. And it also, this whole internationalist thing of we are all one world, we are all together in this, we should be understanding to everyone because we are all humans. That makes people feel as if they have no identity, as if they have no nationality, as if they have no group to or how is it,
Identify
to
with.
belong to.
Yeah.
So this whole nationalistic conservative right-wing movements all have that national thing in common. They are like, oh, I am gonna save this country. This country comes first. My people come first. So it makes people feel as if they have this paternalist figure looking over everything and saving them.
It's so bizarre because I tended to naively think that we progress through history, but this is regression. and it's sad.
This is definitely regression.
And Trump has maybe 45% of Americans who approve of him, and he's made over 12,000 lies since he got in office. How can you approve of that?
Because Americans have private education, they have to pay to get educated, they have to pay to study. So if they are poor and they are not really like dying to learn, they are not going to pay to educate themselves. And since they are poor and uneducated, they are more prone to believe lies.
Yeah, that's good. Um, I read that Republicans are less likely to believe that the coronavirus is a major issue than Democrats, because they listened to Fox News and Trump, who said, "Oh, it's a little miracle. It'll probably be over by April. It's a hoax the Democrats cooked up to
Yeah,
make."
everything is a hoax. Climate change is a hoax. Coronavirus is a hoax.
Yeah,
It's all a hoax until it affects them. So that's the issue. They are more led to believe to religion than to science, and it's like the same story over and over again with different situations. Could it be a virus? Could it be an ecological breakdown? But it's like always the same thing. Old white men believe in God rather than scientists.
right. Um, I'm interested in what seems to me unique about your Generation Z is that people start being activists so early. I don't know of other generations where people were leading movements at 9 and 11 and 12. Why do you think it is? What enabled your generation to be so strong?
It could be many things. It could be this sense of immediacy that we have now, that everything has to be right now because it's easy to get things done like this. So we feel that it has to be done now, and if anyone else is postponing it, then I have to do it. I am the one in charge. I have to do it, and I have to do it now. So it could be that,
Is
or
and
it could be
that's
also
the immediacy comes from the internet?
yeah, it's that we are not used to waiting for stuff. I think that we generation said we are not used to waiting for anything. Delivery comes in 30 minutes, messages from your friends in seconds. So we are not used to waiting it out. We are going to wait it out and see what happens. We are going to get in charge of it and get it done if we don't see that anyone else is getting charged. So
Hmm.
I think it could be that. Or maybe that we have these huge expectations put on ourselves, that we put on ourselves, not that maybe adults or whatever. No, we think that we need to have a purpose on our lives. We don't just live for something. You have to know what you live for, and you have to do something for it. It's not as if you are just born to be happy or born to have kids or born to, I don't know, own a house and have a job. You are born to do something and make it useful and have a reason to live. So this could be it. Maybe write a book. Maybe, I don't know, spread feminism. Maybe be a striker. That's something you have to find your own purpose, because then you feel like, why am I alive for?
Where do you think that came from? What created that belief that we're here for a reason, we better find out what it is and deliver it?
It's something that philosophy has tried to answer for as long as humanity has the ability to talk it through. So I think that it's just something that people used to be born with, but now that it seems as if we can achieve anything, it's more plausible.
Hmm.
Because before you said, okay, I want to do something useful with my life, but if you were a farmer in Europe in the 16th century, you were going to die of the plague or something. You were not going to do something useful with your life. But now we have this capitalist idea that if you work hard enough, you will get it done. So we don't really feel as if it's impossible. We feel that we have to work harder for it.
I wonder too if parenting practices have changed because, it used to be that parents would say children should be seen, not heard. And then it changed to parents saying, "Oh, buddy, what do you think? Oh, buddy, would you like to do this?" So the parenting seems to me to have changed.
Yeah, it could be. I don't really know because that was not something that was common in my family. I mean, my family was mostly of women, so it was kind of far apart of all these established hierarchical family roles.
Hmm. Um, so the flip side of this though is that young people, I think around the world and definitely in the US, are not as likely to vote as old people. So Bernie Sanders is very upset because he was counting on young people to turn out to vote to get him to be elected president and they didn't. So how does that fit in? Not voting.
Here it is compulsory to vote, so we are too different on that. You have to vote, and if you don't vote, you get a fine, and you have like a penalty, and you can't do some paperwork. I don't know how to say it in English, but yeah, you have a penalty if you don't vote. So it's very important for us to do it, and we are like very politicized. Everyone my age talks politics,
Ah.
but I think that in the U.S. it's the same issue all over again. I think that teenagers in the US worry about school debt and healthcare and paying for their education and their bills and all that stuff, but they don't really have enough time or motivation to worry about bigger things such as voting or the president or feminism and climate change because they are so worried and they are put through so much pressure on their daily lives that it takes away all the will you have to do anything.
I think that's really key. So, what you're saying is in Uruguay, you don't have that kind of pressure because you have health care, you have free education, so it gives you more emotional energy to be political.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also that it has been compulsory to vote for like always. I don't know, it's like always been an obligation here. So it's something you talk on the dinner table with your family, it's something you talk on Christmas, it's something that it's being talked about all the time, even more when elections come. Elections here were in November, so it's super important for us. And we have a more direct approach to elections, so we can vote for the one we want to be president. We don't vote for representatives like you do, and the representatives then vote for the president. And we don't have gerrymandering or anything of that. We have direct vote, proportional. It's very easy to know who is going to get elected. So yeah.
And can you vote at 18?
Yeah,
Right.
I voted.
Oh, super. Um, another issue that I don't know if it's facing young people in Uruguay, but it is in the US, is increasing anxiety and depression among teens, especially girls, are more and more anxious. And I wondered if that's true there or not.
I don't really know. Uruguay has a very high rate of suicide, so it's like the government tries not to spread much information about the psychological situation of the population because they have the belief that talking about it will make it more prevalent. So we don't really talk about depression and suicide and anxiety and that mental health issues here because of that kind of belief that if you show suicide, if you talk about suicide or depression or anxiety or anything, it's like going to make it more widespread.
What about among your friends? I mean, do they have body image anxiety or climate anxiety or not?
I mean, at some degree, all of us had an issue with our bodies. It's like every teenage girl I know of has had some problem with it. Maybe not to the extent of having eating disorder, but always having some like kind of insecurity about it. And about climate anxiety, it's not something that people take seriously here because they say, oh no, we are a small country, nothing happens if we change. And what about eating meat? Because Uruguayans eat like lots of meat, and does that mean I won't be able to eat barbecue anymore? So they don't really care about climate change that much. They say, oh no, we are a clean country, we are a green country, because that's what the government has marketed. Uruguay is a green and clean country, but that's not really the truth. We are cleaner than other countries, but that doesn't mean we are free from climate change. So it's like they have mostly anxiety related to personal things rather than systemical issues.
Does the government at least acknowledge that climate change is an issue and advocate?
Yeah, they definitely did.
Renewable
They did,
resources?
but Uruguay is a major exporter of commodities: soy, rice, corn, meat, wool. So we are really dependent on agriculture. And if you are a climate activist and you go against agriculture, no one's going to pay attention to you, because that's literally what this country runs on. This country runs on agriculture, and if you take that away, then what do what does Uruguay produce? So they have acknowledged it. They said, okay, climate change is real. They have agencies for it. They have created agencies that try to make strategies to mitigate and fight climate change. But we have way more money put on subsidies for agriculture than on developing strategies for climate change. So it's obvious that we are not doing nearly enough if we are still supporting industries that are proven to be bad for the environment.
Right. It's interesting because organic farming can do a lot to sequester carbon and put it back in the soil. So agriculture done right can be really, really, really helpful.
Yeah, but we're just planting thousands of kilometers of GMO soy to export to China so they can feed pigs. So, yeah.
Gosh. Um, do you get involved at all with the rape, I would say, of the Amazon that's happening under Bolsonaro and taking away the lungs of our planet?
It's just I met during the COP. I met some Brazilians that like were advocating for the Amazon. Some even indigenous teenagers that were advocating for the Amazon, and it's it seems so out of touch to me, because we don't have such rich diversity here, and it's hard for me here to do anything about it. I mean, you can educate people about it, but it's not as if they are doing actually anything for the Amazon. The Amazon is far. The Amazon depends on another government. The Amazon, it's something that even that it worries me and it made me cry a little bit and all that stuff. It's as if there's not much I can do for it. I mean, it's something that the Brazilians should worry about, that they are more worried about evangelic masses than about their own land. So,
Mm. Um, did you go to Madrid to COP?
yeah, I went to COP and I felt that it was just for show.
Well, not much happened.
Yeah, it was just a big display of stands and information and documentaries saying, look at all the stuff we are doing, while they actually discuss what to do and discuss to do nothing. So,
Did you feel that Fridays for Future and other youth groups like Extinction Rebellion made a difference there in educating people?
if you are a cop, you are already kind of educated. So, you are not going to cop if you know nothing about it.
But it got
It's like
the protests got
I
lots
felt
of
that
press.
we were just the token climate activist. We were young and fresh and so Benetton looking, like we were diverse and youthful, and it looked good to have us there, but we didn't do anything actually, because we were not included in any of the discussions.
Mm. Um,
We could read 1,000 I don't know, speeches, but still, they wouldn't listen to us.
Hmm. Are you planning to go to Scotland for next COP?
No, definitely not.
It,
No.
it wasn't worth.
Maybe someone else from Uruguay goes, but unless they tell me you have everything paid to go to Scotland, I won't go.
um, what other groups do you look to of youth-led climate groups around the world besides Fridays for Future?
Extinction Rebellion does good stuff. It's really eye catching. It's really like unique, their approach to activism.
Is there any ER chapters in Uruguay?
No.
What about in South America?
Yeah, there are in Argentina, I think, maybe in Chile too. They do very cool stuff. I think also the whole red robes thing, the makeup, the plays they put in place, it's like very rememberable. It helps people understand it more clearly when they see it represented in like blood and death.
Ah, right. Any other groups besides ER?
Yeah, I mean, you have the Sunrise Movement, you have Zero Hour, you have School Strike for Climate, but we are all kind of doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
think that Extinction Rebellion does something different. Just they are not just marching and striking and spreading the word. They are also putting their artistic eye on it.
right, and chaining themselves up to fences or whatever. Um, are
Yeah,
are you optimistic or pessimistic when you think about the progress or lack of progress that's been made?
lately, I'm kind of optimistic. The coronavirus thing, knowing that it's like super bad for the world and the economic crisis and people are dying, it showed that if we try, we can really slow it down. The thing is, no one was really trying, but it showed us that in just 15 days of trying to stop using public transport and planes and cars and everything, contamination, pollution levels went down dramatically. So, hey, it's like easy to see that if we just try a little bit, things are going to change drastically.
Hmm. Where do you see yourself, say, 5 years from now? What will you be doing?
Be like, I think I will be living in the capital, probably studying something else. I will have finished my degree. I would really like to work in an organization like, I don't know, the WHO or the Inter-American Development Bank or like some world organization. I wouldn't like to work for the government, but I think that there are lots of things I could do with what I'm studying that could also motivate me on a like aspirational level. Like this is what I want to do with my life, and I like to go to work because I feel that this is helping me fulfill my purpose.
Mm-hmm. Um, how do you prevent burnout? Because that's a problem for activists. You work and work and work, and then you burn out.
Taking times out, like disconnecting from everything else. Like I don't know if I have a test or I have something stressful to do or anything, so I will be on lockdown in my house without talking to other people. So I feel that there is no pressure on me.
Mm. And what do you do for fun?
I train a lot. I go to the gym. I also meet with my friends like every weekend, not now because of the quarantine thing, but yeah.
And go have coffee together or dance or something?
No, I'm not a big dancing person, but we are very eager board game players.
Oh, what kind of board games?
Yeah.
What games?
And I don't know how is it called in English. It's Catan in Spanish. I don't know. Virus. There's another called pandemic. I don't know. Scrabble even. Like lots of board games. We are boring nerds that play board games.
That's interesting. That makes me think of one of the young women I interviewed said that in high school, maybe not for older people, but for boys, it's not cool to be an activist of any kind. So there's a coolness factor Do you think that plays out with young men besides their lack of maturity?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. All the male activists I know are not like really manly men. They are not that kind of guy. They are mostly the guys that used to be friends with girls and like to wear t-shirts, like to wear shirts with flowers instead of t-shirts. So they were not the ones who would worry about being cool or uncool to other boys. So
Hmm.
the ones like I'm thinking of all the boys I met in Fridays for Future Uruguay, and they are all the kind of boy that would get picked on for playing with girls.
Yeah. They would be called sissies.
Yeah, I don't think it would be like that here, but they are all this kind of I don't care about your gender role thing kind of guy.
Cool. I like those guys. Um, is there anything else that you would like to add in terms of how to be an effective organizer, how to turn the climate crisis around? What have we not discussed that we should?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe about organizing is try to meet personally with the people you're working with. Try to get to know them. Try to know their strengths. Try to know also about their family situation because maybe they are being reluctant to work because their parents are divorcing or something. So we have to remember that we are working with people with their own lives that have their own issues. So even if you think, oh no, they are lazy, they don't want to do anything, they could be going through something. So it's not really nice to judge others based on what they do and they don't for the climate movement because they have a life of their own despite all of this. And people tend to forget that climate activists are not just climate activists. We are students, we are sisters, we are daughters of someone. We are not just the important teenager you see on the paper. We have issues of our of our own boyfriends leaving us. It's like we are young as the rest. We are just trying to do something.
Hmm. Interesting.